Yo guys, it's JD here again, back for another awesome video. Today's topic is going to be on the subject of Moro, the Dragon Ball Super manga. So if you haven't caught up with the manga, this will be spoilers, and I suggest you click off this video if you don't want to get spoiled. Anyways, if you're still here, then I assume that you're all caught up. So this discussion is going to be on why Moro was the strongest mortal Goku has ever faced. My argument and premises will be broken up to three areas. So the introduction of Moro with his abilities and power level, Merus and his power and motivations against 7-3, because that's important. And finally, Planet Moro, the last iteration of Moro's character, and the reasons why he was stronger than Goku, even though he lost. So, the introduction part of this argument. Moro is actually a really interesting character, is a real testament to Toyotaro's character creation skills, and his ability to write an engaging story without much Toriyama involvement based off what we currently know. Moro's name is a regional Japanese word for a shark cutlet, which is a Japanese. That could be the name's origin. That could be where Toyotaro got the idea. Don't currently know yet. But as you can see from his original character design, he looks like Grim Reaper or the devil as it's presented in Christian theology. It could also be another reference to someone named Moloch, which is another god that was worshipped in the Bible and the book of Leviticus. And then as far as other inspirations, it could be in Greek mythology, it could be the personification of spirit of impending doom, which is in Greek mythology. Pretty interesting. But Moro is essentially a character who functions like Galactus from Marvel, right? So he feeds off the life forms and planets, to get stronger or to survive, right? And they use the goat-like archetype, play on how a farmer attends to his livestock. Now the farmer is essentially the goat, right? Referring to Moro, right? But anyways, with that out of the way, Moro's power, his main allure, comes from his magic, right? So from what we've seen in the manga version of the story, mainly involving energy siphoning abilities, manipulation of the planet's elements like fire, lava, uh, water, any of the Earth's elements he can manipulate. It's a form of enhanced key control essentially, right? And then as far as his combat abilities, he can create after images that are magic. So I don't know how that plays in the ability to sense them, but he uses them to a greater degree than the after images that Goku and his friends have done thus far in the series. He also appears to have the Dragon Ball sensing ability. After you saw the Dragon Balls, you'd be able to track them down just upon seeing them and how they work. So that was pretty impressive. He has absorption, which you'll see later in the story, and then he's essentially immortal, keep increasing his lifespan by absorbing the Genki, or the life force energy of all things. And then he also has immobilizing balls of energy, which he used against the UI Open Goku later on in the arc, and probably many other things that hopefully expanded upon in the anime. So, just a little brief summary of Moro, what he does in the story. In the early part of the arc, dynamic, Moro was originally, had been in prison for a while. He was old, lost much of his magic and combat ability by Kaioshin, who sealed him away at the cost of his power. So he was able to be captured by the Galactic Patrol and was spending about 10 million years, essentially lying in wait for the seal or the ability that the Daikaioshin put on his magic to dissipate. And once it did, he escaped, right? And then this is where the story of Son Goku, Vegeta, and all his friends, this is how they get involved in the arc. So they arrive on Namek. That's where Moro's going to get the Dragon Balls to restore his magic. Moro fights Vegeta and Goku on New Namek, but he was much weaker than them, and very much weaker than their God form, referring to Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue. His body was still old, frail, and too slow to deal with those godly transformations. However, Moro would use his magic and energy siphoning abilities to absorb the Genki, or the life force of the planet, unknowing to Goku and Vegeta's power. His power appears to operate where you have to be touching the ground, or his ki has to connect to you, right? Either through physical combat or energy blast, connecting with you. Um, so his magic does appear to operate on the Genki, right? So similar to the energy of the Spirit Bomb and the energy of all life forms in the universe. So using this ability, Moro became stronger than their Super Saiyan God form, and probably Super Saiyan Blue form. Although Goku and Vegeta were confident that if they fought him again, their Super Saiyan Blue would be enough, because again, when you transform, there's an energy tax that's associated with transforming. So you're never really fighting at full power, and if you do multiple transformations, where you go back between previous forms, either reverting or otherwise, you lose, you lose the full power you had, because you're losing energy as radiation, as heat, and those kinds of things, right? So Vegeta and Goku were referring to if they were to have gone straight into blue right from the get-go instead of playing around, which is part of their Saiyan traits. Anyways, Moro defeats them. He regains a lot of his youth, becoming, semi-youthful, and then he makes the wish for the Dragon Balls to free the inmates, right? So Goku and them fight their inmates, but they're still getting their energy siphoned away, and it's being taken and then transferred to the inmates to make them more durable, right? So, anyways, the Daikaio gets involved in the Majin Buu fight there. Merus gets involved, but Merus is fighting suppressed, and essentially Moro wins, and Goku and Vegeta are tasked with having to find another way or method of achieving the next level of power that will be able to contend with Moro, who is now full power Moro, or Moro. That's what I'm going to call him for the rest of the video. So while Goku and Vegeta go to train, Vegeta goes to Yardrat to learn about spirit control and ways to combat Moro's magic. Goku trains with Merus to learn the secrets of Ultra Instinct. While Moro and the inmates from Galactic Patrol go around the galaxy, absorbing Genki to increase Moro's power in preparation for this fight that will take place on Earth. Anyways, Moro, before the fight ever begins, creates a backup. That is, he uses 7-3, the android who is one of the inmates of the Galactic Patrol, who has the ability to copy you and he copies you exactly as you are. Meaning, if he touches your neck, he gets all your abilities, regardless of whether you're suppressing your power, or you're not able to fight at full power, whatever. He gets all those abilities and then some. So Moro creates a backup of his power, full power Moro, just in case something happens. And this would actually be the key to his victory later in the arc. So Moro, so Goku and his UI Omen post-training with Merus arrives on Earth, defeats Sagambo, and then defeats or engages in a battle with full power Moro. While their battle appeared even, Moro was still able to outlast and to some extent immobilize Goku with his immobilization magic, right? He wasn't able to siphon away Goku's energy because the speed at which Ultra Instinct Omen operates was just too fast for his magic to keep up with. This is actually similar to the logic of what, if you watch Naruto, Gaara's Sand couldn't keep up with Rock Lee's taijutsu all in the Hidden Lotus. Same concept. But no, this will come back. So the energy siphoning away, Moro will try to do this later on in the story. So anyways, Moro defeats Goku, and then Vegeta arrives with this post-Yardrat spirit training, and engages against Moro, full power youth Moro. However, Moro was quite confident that he could still defeat Vegeta, but acknowledged that this would be his finest meal yet. Now, whether that shows that Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta post-Yardrat training was stronger than the current UI Omen Goku is not clear. However, Vegeta is at least Omen levels from the Tournament of Power, for the sake of the argument. So Vegeta is able to use the new technique, Force Spirit Fission, and he siphons away Moro's magic, or his power, right? The method of which Moro continuously gets stronger. So Moro loses all the youth that he regained earlier in the arc, and goes back to the old goat appearance that he had on introduction. who is weaker than Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta, and he's also weaker than UI and Goku, probably even the androids and some of the Z fighters that are currently there. However, Moro would use his backup, which is the ace that he had set up in case he was defeated, right? So Moro uses his magic, which is what he did, right? Him absorbing and fusing into 7-3 is his magic. Um, so Moro absorbs 7-3, fuses with them, becomes Moro 7-3. This character or this version of Moro is now stronger than Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta, definitely stronger than UI Omen Goku. As a matter of fact, later on in the fight, he literally one-shots UI Omen Goku post Zenkai if he did receive his Zenkai. So Moro uses his magic, referring to 7-3, and copies Vegeta's power, which means now Moro has essentially God Ki, right? Because Vegeta has God Ki. He has all of Vegeta's techniques, Final Flash, Big Bang, all of that, and he now has the Force Spirit Vision, which prevents Goku and Vegeta from using their last resorts, or in this case, fusion. So essentially, Moro 7-3 effortlessly defeats Goku and his friends, and with no options left, Beerus and Whis with Merus show up, and Merus decides to make his move. Now for the second part of the argument. People will look at the Merus versus Moro 7-3 fight as evidence that Merus wasn't stronger than Moro 7-3, or that their power was close, possibly even, and I disagree. Merus' prime objective was to train Goku in preparation for the Moro fight, but because of Angel Law, of which I made a video on, so if you haven't seen that, totally check it out, because I go over all the history, real life influence, where that idea comes from, and why angels and gods don't intervene. That's all explained in that video. But anyways, but because of Angel Law, Merus was limited in what he could do, while also in conflict with his relationship with the mortals, especially Goku. Goku's peculiar nature had rubbed off on Merus. It further emboldened his desire to want to save Earth and to help in the development of the world, right? And this was a constant back and forth that was going on in Merus's head, probably before he had ever met Goku. So consider also that when Moro 7-3 defeated Goku and his friends, they needed time to heal, right, with Dende's healing power. But because Son Goku and Vegeta's power had grown to godly levels, the time to heal them would take, it would be quite substantial. And so Merus had to momentarily fight Moro for the time being until Goku had recovered. Merus was also trying to figure out a way to push Son Goku to achieve the complete and true Ultra Instinct that Goku had accidentally achieved in the Tournament of Power by near-death triggers and couldn't tap into at will, in the Broly movie and up until this point. He only learned how to tap into the Omen state, not the complete silver-haired state. So it was this, then, that Merus decided to overstep the boundaries of Angel Law and God interference to give the upper hand or debuff to Moro 7-3's bothersome popping abilities. He destroyed two of the three crystals, and then he got his neck tapped, but he severed that hand. But he didn't realize that one hand still contained an active crystal, an active power. Not realizing that his abilities and keys were his key was copied along with his abilities. So Merus decided to flare up his key and go full power to accomplish the task at hand, which was to get rid of Moro's copying abilities. This is what he set out to achieve. Never intended to defeat Moro, because to him that is a bridge too far. He just wanted to help Goku and his friends. He wanted to tip the scale in their favor, but without him finishing the rest of the work. This is no different than Beast using time reversal, which is a way of giving, an edge to the mortals, but not doing the final work, which is to actually get rid of the villain, right? So, due to him using some, if not all, of his angel combat abilities, he was to be erased. But this was a worthy sacrifice as Goku finally have the trigger to achieve and finally attain the complete or true Ultra Instinct. You got to Gokuri. So, Goku achieves the complete Ultra Instinct and destroys Moro 7-3. No questions. It's clear in the panels. It's clear in the dialogue. Moro 7-3, who was stronger than UI Omen Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta, was not able to do anything. Even though he was able to keep up with a base suppressed Merus, Goku UI is far above that. And even then, base Merus, his only objective was to destroy the crystals. He wasn't even trying to kill Moro. Um, so Moro, with nothing left, noticed that he had a severed hand with the jewel still intact. Remember that Moro and his copy abilities, they work on the logic that as long as the crystal is still intact, Moro can still use those powers. So after the fusion, the time limit was removed, and once he gets the abilities, they're his forever. However, if the crystal is destroyed, then those powers will be lost. At least that is how it's currently been done in the manga. So the one hand that was severed but still had an active crystal, the only remaining one that is, had Merus' abilities, and since 7-3 copies you in totality, that is level of ki of that said person and their abilities, Moro 7-3 now with Merus' abilities closes the gap between himself and UI Goku. He's able to use Ultra Instinct bypassing the physical requirements, which is God training, for having God Ki, and then having a strong body to withstand the effects of UI, since it has a huge toll on mortals that we saw with Goku in the tournament power. So Moro was able to contend with UI Goku, and his magic was able to give him a slight edge. We see this with him using the magic doppelgangers, the after images that we saw him do when Goku and Moro were racing around the Earth in a contest of speed. That was his magic in the form of after images, which is slightly different from normal after images. But Goku was still quite confident. He believed that Moro's stolen power, in the form of Merus, was going to eventually be his defeat, his demise, and that would be proven true. Now, the third part of the argument: why is Moro stronger than UI Goku? Why is he the strongest character that Goku has faced this far? Well, it's because Moro, based on what we know from Toriyama's own words about strength and combat abilities, you are only strong in terms of how much ki you have and the control over it. And then there are aspects of ki, that is Genki, which is the health or wellness energy of all things, Yoki, which is courage, or Yuki, I believe, and then Shoki, which is right-mindedness. These are the spiritual aspects of ki that enhance your ability to use ki in the form of combat or battle power. So, in this argument, Moro has more ki, right? We know he gets more ki because he uses his magic to take away or siphon energy from other people. Moro had more ki at this time. The moment he achieved Merus' abilities and was able to tap into Ultra Instinct, which he was, some people argue he wasn't, Moro was definitely using Ultra Instinct. There's plenty of panels that support this. But anyways, Moro has more ki, right? Which is a measure of power, and then the other is ki control. I argue this because Merus is an angel, right? And since 7-3 copied his power and his abilities whole, right? It copied his level of ki. For angels is huge. So even though Merus isn't able to go full power until the very end, right? We know Whis and Vados and the other angels cannot go full power unless they were erased. Moro was able to use that power that they couldn't use themselves without being erased, right? So Moro has that power. So by that own logic, he should have more ki than Goku because Goku has never surpassed an angel yet. And people say, well, JD, Merus is an angel trainee. It's different. No, Merus is a angel. We don't know why he's considered a trainee, but it's pretty obvious that it's because of his duties and responsibilities. Merus is a trainee in terms of the knowledge of being an angel, not interfering in the mortal affairs, which is why he joined the Galactic Patrol, right? It was like detective work. I think the Grand Priest and one of the panels mentions that they sent Merus to the mortal realm, specifically to the Galactic Patrol, to learn about the development, learn about the moral principles that mortals can embody, right? It's very similar to the speech that Gowasu gave to Zamasu about the capabilities of mortals, right? So that was the whole spiel with Merus. That's probably why he's considered an angel trainee. That is, Merus' battle power is definitely angel level. I don't think there shouldn't be any question about it, because by the end of this argument, it should be obvious. So, I argue that Merus, because of the arguments I just said, him being an angel and being able to clap Moro 7-3, even though that wasn't even his intention, I argue that Merus is stronger than UI Goku. And remember, UI Goku or at least in his Omen state, got one-shotted by Moro 7-3, right? So I mean, obviously, silver hair UI Goku is far stronger, but this is something to consider, though, right? So if Moro, in the form of Planet Moro, when he decides to fuse with the Earth because his body can't handle not only Ultra Instinct, but the true thing that caused Moro to become the planet to use magic to fuse the Earth, was because of the raw power of an angel, right? Referring back to how 7-3 copies you, right? It copies your level of ki. The level of ki of an angel is so, it's like heaven and earth, right? The difference is almost incalculable, right? And so, another thing that's similar to this is Ginyu, right? Ginyu, is a character who attains power either in the form of stealing. He uses his body change to take Goku's body, who had a power level of like 180,000 using the Kaioken. Ginyu thought that was Goku's base power. However, that's not true. Ginyu, in the Frieza Force, they operate on the assumption that Genki is where most people get their power from, right? That refers to the health and wellness of the body, right? The training that's done, whether it's just straight up fighting or sparring or whatnot, gravity room training, all that increases your Genki. However, Goku's power and his, the reason why his power level was able to shoot up to 180,000 is because of the techniques that he learned from King Kai, right? The Kaioken, the Genki Dama, those are techniques that require training from a god, right? They require that you learn you have to increase the other aspects of your ki and ki control, referring back to what I said earlier, the Shoki, the Yuki, specifically Shoki, right? Mindedness, right? It requires a certain kind of mindset to use the Kaioken and to use the Genki Dama. It requires the command of a being who's knowledgeable about heightened martial arts from a god like King Kai. Ginyu does not know this, right? When he takes over your body, he doesn't get Goku's knowledge of his abilities. He only gets the base body and the base battle power. That's why Ginyu wasn't able to use Goku's body to its fullest capability. And by analogy, this is what's going on in Moro's body. Moro's body could not use the full capability of Merus because Merus's power was so large that it was destroying his body. Now, it is true that the Ultra Instinct was taking a toll on his body too, um, but uh, Moro's body was breaking down and expanding because of the raw power of an angel. He couldn't contain it. He couldn't house that power in his fragile mortal body, right? Because that fragile body requires God training. It requires the sealing away of God Ki that Goku and Vegeta have done since Resurrection Act. Um, so essentially, that was the case for Planet Moro. His normal body could not handle the raw power of an angel. Um, and so when he fused with the earth, he thought that would stop the process of his body breaking down. However, it was not the case. His body continued to grow larger, and fusing with the earth didn't help Moro because he was going to explode. Moro's Shoki or right mindedness also was being tampered with because he was starting to lose his mind. As Vegeta comments later in the chapter 66, Moro was losing his mind because as a result of the raw power. Um, so then JD, they'll say, why was the crystal destroyed, right? So what was the cause of the crystal being destroyed, right? Well, the reason the crystal was destroyed is a couple of things. Goku in that fight, as a result of him giving a senzu bean to Moro, and then as a result of letting Moro become an Earth, Goku's Shoki, right, his right mindedness and also his Yuki, which is his courage. These are again these spiritual aspects of Ki. Those took a debuff, if you will, and this is no different than when Super Saiyan 2 Gohan was struggling against Perfect Cell, even though he was stronger than Perfect Cell and also Super Perfect Cell. Gohan's Shoki, much like Goku, was taking a toll, and so Goku was not able to effectively use his full power. And then also Goku was conflict with like, well, if he somehow succeeds in destroying Moro, would the Earth and the entire galaxy be destroyed? Because that's what we said was going to happen, right? So essentially, Goku, spiritual debuff in the Ki department, and so that affected his ability to utilize his Ki in his fighting combat. So going back to the Merus thing, we actually have evidence that if you spend time using a technique, you're more effective using it. So in this case, Merus and Goku have fundamentally the same knowledge or skill, but Merus has spent more time using it, referring to, Migatsu no Gokui, right? You know, Elmod in the Tournament of Power in the manga says that he won't beat Jiren the trick he just learned, implying if Goku had more time using the said technique, that would make him better with it. And then evidence two would be Vegeta telling Black that he can't make full use of Goku's abilities and powers because he doesn't have the lived experience of Goku that Goku had in his own body, right? This is referring to again the fact that Goku's power, a lot of it comes from techniques that required special training, and Goku Black does not get those memories, right? Goku Black's memories are that of Zamasu. And then three, we have evidence of UI users increasing the ability of UI as the fight goes on. We saw that with Goku against 4073. His body started to increase in its durability, right? It hardened to withstand blows from Moro, even breaking his hand, right? So, Merus and Goku are accessing the same power, but Merus still has more experience in accessing it, and Goku, with everything he knows about it, is still, you know, insignificant when compared to Merus using Ultra Instinct. Why is this important, JD? Well, Merus has more God Ki than Goku, right? Um, Merus is more powerful than Goku because of fundamentally what Merus is. Merus is an angel, Goku is a mortal, right? Goku has yet to close the gap between himself and angels, right? First piece of evidence. When Goku can't destroy Mortal's crystal, he asks Merus, he says, if Merus can do it, why can't I? This implies that if Merus can do the sealing technique, he ought to be able to do this as well in the same context. The reason he gives the I must not have enough God power in the panel is direct evidence or implication that Merus has more God Ki or God power than Goku had to achieve the same feat that he did against Moro 7-3. Now, obviously, 4073 with Merus' power is more powerful and thus more durable. I mean, referring to the crystal, Goku couldn't do it in his silver hair form, and presumably Goku admits that Merus could do it. Um, and it doesn't really matter what Goku's thoughts on the subject matter is, because Merus was able to do it while suppressed, and Goku can't, and he's seemingly using his full power, or at least the full power he's able to currently utilize. Two, Moro is using Merus' God Ki, right, which is what is used to overpower Goku and stop him in the first place. This should be evident because Moro, prior to becoming Moro 7-3, prior to getting Merus' God Ki and Angel techniques, youthful Moro or full power Moro couldn't even use his magic to siphon away Goku's energy. By Omen Goku was too fast for it. However, now Moro 7-3, or at least when he becomes a planet, is able to now absorb and siphon away MUI or complete UI Goku's energy, which is something he couldn't do it before, implying that Merus' God Ki is the reason for why he's able to do this, right? And Moro, like I said before in the argument with Ginyu, Moro is not even effectively using Merus' full power. He's not able to, otherwise his body would explode, right? Because that's ultimately the fate of Moro. He's going to explode from the results of Merus' expanding ki, which can't be housed in his body. So, the power that Merus is using, or the power that Moro is using, while it's not the full power of Merus, it's still overpowering Goku, pretty much trying his hardest to stop or overpower Moro. So, again, this is similar to the Goku Ginyu problem that we saw in Dynamic Saga, right? Just because you're given a strong body or technique gain said power doesn't mean you can effectively use it, right? In the case of technique experience, right? You don't have access to that mind, which is a bridge or gateway to effectively using ki. And so, overall, Moro 7-3, or more specifically Planet Moro, is the strongest mortal that Goku has ever faced thus far because of the 7-3 copying ability and what we know about it, the logic behind it, right? Moro's energy siphoning power, which worked because of Merus' God Ki and his increased power following the fusion of 7-3, and Goku taking spiritual debuffs, if you will, in the form of his Yuki and Shoki, um, which would affect his ability to use ki properly, right? And essentially allowed Moro and his current usage of Merus' power to blow for blow be on par with Goku's UI, right? This is why they appeared even during their fight, even though Moro had a slight edge with his magic. And then also remember, it took the combined efforts of Earth, Oob's involvement, right? Oob's Gaki. That was the catalyst for why Goku was able to not only go back into Ultra Instinct, but also able to free himself from the grip of Moro, and then, outmaneuver him into such a way where he's able to then shatter the crystal using all the Genki that Vegeta had donated to Goku, Spirit Vision technique, Oob's Ki, people on Kami's lookout, right? All that power just so Goku could finally destroy the crystal, which is something that arguably from Goku's own admission, Beerus could probably do, right? If going full power. So essentially, Moro and his control of Merus' power, the way I saw that about the transformation referencing Moro to planet Moro, it's like a star, right? And its hydrostatic pressure, the balance between the growing radius of a star in its adult phase to its gravitational field contraction, right? So by analogy, Moro's control of the copied abilities, in this case Merus, that was like the gravitational contraction, right? Pulling things back, right? But Merus' power, by analogy, is like the expansion of the star. One is going to give eventually, and the crystal on Moro's forehead was that boundary. It was the boundary between those two forces, those two magnitudes. And so, by Goku, the assistance of others overpowering or having enough power to destroy that crystal, that caused the crystal to explode, freeing, relieving the pressure, if you will. And so Merus' power would expand and in the process destroy Moro's body because it was never capable or honed enough to contain that power, destroying Moro. So Goku didn't even destroy Moro directly, like in terms of raw physical power. He had to destroy the crystal because what was in the way of Moro and the crystal is Merus' power. So he had to destroy the gate, essentially the lock, which would free Merus' power, and thus that was what was the cause of Moro's demise. And so essentially in terms of raw power, Moro is stronger because he has, by 7-3's own logic, he has Merus' full power. And so this is why Moro was the strongest mortal Goku has ever faced thus far. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I have a couple more videos planned. This one took a while because I was trying to do more research, but I'll be back at it again, guys. Thanks again. Bye, guys.